Hi, my name's Munawara Ibrahim Mangulamas from BAFM 1B. So in this video, we are tasked with providing a reaction video regarding the two films that were given to us, which were Rashomon and Amélie, and we were to answer 7 questions. So the first one is, what are the two films about, and provide a brief summary of each film. So the Rashomon, directed by Akira Kurosawa, is a psychological thriller that is a psychological thriller that investigates or finds the truth or seeks justice about a gruesome murder. So it revolves around 4 narration from 4 different people on about how the murder happened. So they were the ones who had witnessed the crime, and they were the ones who were involved in the crime. So in this story, it suggests that people, whenever faced in a frightening situation, they would they would eventually twist the events and save themselves from the consequences. People would act selfishly, and people would clean and protect their names, thus proving that in these times, in that kind of times, desperate times, the objective truth would be hard to identify, and people would act out of their moral. So on the other one, the Amélie, which was directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, is about a woman who was isolated when she was a kid. So when she had grown, she has this habit in the movie, she has this habit of trying to fix her friends' lives, of trying to fix others' lives, while also discreetly trying to pursue the guy that she likes. So, due to the fact that when she was younger, she lacked socialization, she lacked intimacy, that's why it kind of led her to be timid and cowardly. Nevertheless, with the help, and fortunately with the help of her neighbor, she came out of her shell and she had earned the courage to be with the guy that she is in love with. Let's jump to the next question, which is, research on both filmmakers and their background in filmmaking. Briefly discuss their craft and contribution to filmography. So Akira Kurosawa, the one who directed Rashomon, is a well-known French filmmaker. He is a well-known Japanese filmmaker who distinguished himself, or who was known for his camera movement techniques, such as long lenses and widescreen, particularly using actual cuts and wipe transitions for seamless scene changes, like this. So his work frequently involved the nature of violence, just like the movie that we watched, which was Rashomon, and its profound impact on individuals and the society. So exploring the complexities of human nature was something that he really liked to do based on the films that he usually direct. So Kurosawa's films delve into the concepts of morality and the struggle for survival. In 1990, he has this award. His significant impact on cinema was recognized with an Academy Award for Lifetime Achievement. Some of his other famous works were Seven Samurai, Ikiru, and The Throne of Blood. So the other one, the one who directed Amélie, was a French filmmaker. So he was the one who was the French filmmaker, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, well known for his unique or different visual style for filming, his narrative approaches, his use of comedy, romance, and fantasy themes. So, his innovative use of cinematography, his thorough attention to visual detail, and the ability to create realistic animated work had made significant contribution, or had made significant influence in today's filmography. Or so Unet was also known for his vibrant for using vibrant colors in his movies or in his films. So so I noticed that in Amelie, he the colors were really vivid, the colors really vibrant. So that's what he was known for. So while established in French cinema traditions, Unet's international standing is evidenced by prizes such as the European Film Award for the Best Director for Amelie, which received many Academy Award nominations. His cinematic technique typically includes using different and humorous elements, establishing his work as an impressive contribution to today's filmography. Some of his famous works were The City of the Lost Children and The Alien Resurrection. So, moving on to the next question, provide a visual explanation of how the films were shot, made, and edited. What visual appeal and editing were added to both films in order for them to support their story? Were they effective? How? Yes or no? Support your claims by providing screenshot from each film and explain why they were so. So Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon utilized panning shots for action. So panning shot is when the camera is moving horizontally or when the camera turns to left or right while remaining on a one place. So panning shot is usually used to record a fight. So remember when the bandit and the victim were fighting with their samurai? That's when the panning shot was used. So I will provide you the video. Close-ups or zoom in was also used for emphasizing the character emotion. Wide shots for extending the camera's width, and handheld camera shots, particularly following the woodcutter into the forest. Kurosawa as well used techniques such as shooting into the sun to manipulate light, which I think is smart. A nonlinear a nonlinear narrative was also used. So a nonlinear narrative or a nonlinear story is when the story doesn't follow the beginning, middle, and structure. Instead, it uses flashbacks. It can begin in the middle, and it would just use flashbacks to um to show or to explain how the past events affects the present time. So his editing techniques his editing techniques include transitional wipes to alter between the characters' viewpoints, just like this. These visual and editing choices effectively emphasize subjectivity and enhance emotional impact, supporting the story by highlighting the subjective truth of the characters and symbolizing their moral depravity. On another note, On another note, Jean-Pierre Jeunet Amélie employs shooting techniques. He also used shooting techniques such as wide-angle lenses to bring the actors close while recording the background. So this one, he also used that approach is used to distort the facial feature of the character, making the film more humorous, as you can notice. So close-up shots were also utilized to heighten or to highlight their expression, their emotions. So special effects or CGI, computer generated imagery, here is now used. So remember when the painted animals started talking, when the pig or when the animated pig started turning off the light, and when the image started talking to Nino about Amelie. So that's when the computer generated images was used and special effects were also used. So those visual and editing techniques created a peculiar film, making Amelie an iconic piece of cinema and making Jean-Pierre Jeunet an iconic director. So upon observation regarding this question about were they effective, were the visual appeal and editing are effective, yes or no. So I can say upon observation or after watching those both films, their visual and editing methods are quite effective and impressive in the delivery of each scene. They enhance the film's conceptual depth and emotional impact, creating a memorable movie, creating an iconic movie. Now, turning to the fourth question, and I think this is the question that I like the most. Choose 2 shots from each film that made a great impact on you. Evaluate and scrutinize the scenes. Why those 4 were memorable by making use of art elements and design principles, and how they added to the effectiveness of the delivery in each scene. Further commentaries may be added in regards to emotions and personal interpretation. So in Rashomon, one of the scenes in Rashomon that I think was memorable or that impacted me was when the lady found her husband dead. So I will provide you the screenshot. Yeah, so the way the camera slowly zooms in on her face accentuated the scene. It highlighted her disbelief, her fear and her pain and her terror in her eyes. Her parted lips, her wide eyes, her hands on her face truly indicated that she could not believe what she is seeing. So yeah, I think the characteristic or the art element or artist or design principle that made this better, that made this scene better was the contrast and the color. It heightens the scene's dramatic effect. It heightens the scene's dramatic effect, especially when it is partnered with the scene's background ominous music. It really was chilling to watch. So now the second scene was when the victim was watching his wife fall for the bandit. So this is the screenshot or this is the picture. So this scene was when the bandit explain or narrate his point of view through the through through the woman or through the medium. So the camera was aiming to highlight the woman and the bandit They are trying to emphasize the woman and the bandit staring at each other as if they were in love. However, they still ensured that the man was still visible behind them, watching, watching in hurt and feeling betrayed that his wife could easily disregard him and fall into the other's man's arm as if they had nothing, as if the relationship was just nothing to her. So I think the design principle that we could apply, that we could get from this one that made the scene better is how they tried to emphasize the woman and the bandit staring at each other. And the contrast to it made them even focus more. It focuses on them more. So now let's move on to the two scenes that I think is memorable in Amelie. So the first scene is when Amelie sees Nino again after years of not seeing him. So the gradual close-up shot of the camera to Amelie's face down to her chest made it even more better. I think personally the color the color and the animated form of her heart was something that made it even more realistic and thrilling to watch. The colors were vibrant, the colors were vivid, were lively. So yeah, I think that made it even better. Now the second scene in Amelie that I think was remarkable when Nino realized that his assumption about the magic man were wrong, the technician. I think it's a funny misconception. The lighting and the color when the camera was trying to highlight Nino's face was funny. So yeah, I think the circular motion of the camera while trying to record Nino's face was something that made it even more funnier. It highlighted Nina's confused, amazed, and amused expression. So yeah, I think those four scenes were the memorable ones. I think those scenes were the memorable ones in the two films. Yeah, and the art elements and their design principles made them even better. So now the fifth question is: after watching both films, compare and contrast. Provide at least two similarities and two differences. Expound your answers as needed. So after watching Rashomon and Amelie, two differences was instantly identifiable. The first one was the most notable one: color. In Rashomon, the colors were just limited to black and white. Nevertheless, the directors and the actresses still performed well. They still delivered their message or their intended purpose to the audiences. However, in Amelie, they utilize vibrant colors, vivid colors, various of colors, and it emphasizes their targeted emotions from the audience, improving their film's way of implementing scenes. The second difference that I noticed was that in the former film or in Rashomon, they did not use any special effects or CGIs or computer generated images. Um, Probably or definitely because technology was less advanced at that time. However, in Amelie, in the latter film, they used several of special effects and CGIs um, because at this time or at that time, well, technology is more advantageous. They greatly benefit from the technology work by creating a more effective visual work and a more creative and realistic animated characters, some characters, so thus enhancing the audience's way of imagining. Furthermore, the two similarities between the two that I have noticed is how the camera usually zooms in on the character's face whenever they try to accentuate, or whenever they try to highlight, or whenever they try to improve the character's emotion or expression. They use the camera to their effective, or they use the camera well. They made an effective use of the camera, which enables viewers to perceive the narrative through the character's subjective experiences. And now the second similarity was how both film utilized or use background music to elevate the scenes and the actresses performances. So now let's answer the seventh and last question. Um what were your honest opinions about the films? Were they good or bad? Why or why not? Engaging or boring? Expound your answers. Even with a distinct kind of editing and execution of the two different films, both had still managed to connect with the audiences on a deep and emotional level, showcasing the power of storytelling beyond visual and editing choices. Their message, both of the film's messages and intended purpose, was both convenient and effective to the audience, helpful even. So personally, personally, the both films, Rashomon and Amélie, are good. They are enjoyable. They are entertaining. We can learn a lot from them. So yeah, I like them both. And now, those were my honest opinions about the two films that were given to us. Again, my name is Manawara Ibrahim Lamas, and thank you for watching.